Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Our first speaker of the session, track 2, Spirituality and Arts and Culture, is ZIA NATH. She's an international performer and teacher of sacred dance, as well as a healthcare therapist with a practice in Mumbai since almost 2 decades. A TEDx presenter, nutritionist, and a craniosacral practitioner. Zia uses the body as the first stop to health and wellness, engaging the diversity of her work, the science of therapeutics, and the spirituality of sacred dance to conduct regular programs for corporates and individuals. In her own words, Zia says, in our body, science meets spirituality. And the topic of her presentation today is Sacred Dance, Whirling Mandalas. So over to you, Zia. The screen is all yours now.
Thank you, Jyoti ji. And that was a beautiful.
Zia,
Hi, I'm here.
the
Do you
screen
hear?
is all yours. Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Lovely. Thank you. I really like the morning introduction that you opened about the beauty of creativity. That was really setting the tone of this talk. So thank you for sharing that quote. And my talk today is about whirling mandala. It's a sacred dance form. Dance is a visual. It's a visual medium, and there's only so much that one can keep on and on talking about it. So I want to open the talk with a short video presentation of one of my performances. And this performance is really quite special because of the location. I was invited to give a presentation at the Aurora Borealis Global Convention in Svalbard, which is the closest landmass near the Arctic. It was really lovely. They had an idea to do it outside in the snow fields, but then there was a snowstorm, so we moved inside. Thank God. Otherwise, I would have frozen and blown away. But it was just such a beautiful, energetic experience to be up there so close to the North Pole. And here's just a little glimpse, like a 1 minute, of what whirling mandala really looks like. And then I can talk about the science and spirituality of sacred dance and how our body becomes a medium to experience this. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So that's a little glimpse of what the whirling mandala dance looks like. And I do want to start with saying that even though it looks like a dance, even though I've been invited and performing it all over the world as a dance, it actually isn't a dance. It's a movement meditation. It's one single turn and then another turn and another turn, and you keep turning, and the series of these turns, one after another, creates a beautiful sacred continuity. It creates a sacred space inside us. This continuity brings grace, and the grace makes the movement look like a dance. So we never really approach it as a dance. Like when I teach the work, I don't teach it that here is a dance form. I actually teach it as it's a very beautiful sacred art form. It's a movement in the body, and the deeper you go into the meditation of it, the deeper you dive into the stillness of the work, the more the grace blossoms. And that grace is what makes it look like a dance. So coming into a little bit more about this, it originates actually from ancient cultures all over the world. So dance is whirling is as ancient as dance. Now, if we look at what was the first dance movement, or what was the first dance step that happened for human beings, if we really go back into the history of time, it was rhythm and turning. Rhythm, because that's what we resonate with in the womb with the heartbeat of our mother. And when we are coming out of the birth passage, the movement that we are taking to exit is a spiral, is a turning. And that turning is happening around our midline axis. So the baby is taking 1.5 turns out of the birth passage and then comes out. And whenever you see children, we don't really teach children to dance. The moment they are able to stand, start walking, start moving, and you put on some music, two things happen very naturally. And this shows that this is a natural phenomenon in us. Immediately, a toddler's body will start responding to the rhythm in the music, and it will start to turn. That is what dance is in our body. It's a force field around us. Our body resonates to this force field, and turning is a natural phenomenon. We see turning happening all over the world, all over the universe. If you look at any natural phenomenon, there is the turning and there is the fulcrum. Fulcrum is a point in space around which movement organizes itself. So any natural phenomenon existing in this universe has a turning, whirling force field, and it has a fulcrum of stillness right at the center. Begin with our solar system, the sun. The sun is the fulcrum right in the middle around which all the planets turn. Come to our earth. We have the axis of the earth around which the earth rotates. Look at a flower blossoming. There is a fulcrum right at the center around which the petals will organize itself. Look at a shell, any kind of seashell, you will always see there's a midline fulcrum and the shell organizes itself around it. Look at trees, it has a midline like a spine and all the branches come out of it. Look at our human body. We have this longitudinal midline, which is our spine, and this gives us orientation of front, back, left, right, up, down. So anything, so this allows us movement in space and movement in displacement, movement within the body, as well as whenever there is an organized movement, there is a fulcrum. And our fulcrum gives us the consciousness of the stillness from which motion originates. Now, coming back to force fields and movements. So when we look at a tornado, look at a cyclone, and you see that there is a chaotic movement that's just turning. It's like whirling around. Now, this chaotic movement feels to us that it's chaotic. When we are in this force field, everything around us is going chaotic. Everything is being blown off. When we look at it from an aerial view, we are seeing the force field of this cyclone or tornado. It's very organized. This force field, and I want to keep bringing, because this is where we're looking at science and spirituality meeting. This is the most important aspect of whirling. This is what I teach all the students. When we look at the tornado or the cyclone from top, from an aerial view, there is a very organized force field. It knows where it's going. It's maintaining its speed. And there is a circular movement around the fulcrum. That fulcrum is stillness. Now, when this tornado comes or a cyclone comes to us, we are living in a city and it comes to us, everything's being blown away. But when the stillness and the stillness fulcrum of the cyclone moves through us, everything gets still. That stillness is the power which is maintaining the force field and the organized movement of the cyclone. So the power of the cyclone is not in its movement. The power of the cyclone is in its stillness. And when we approach whirling with the same force dynamics, two things happen. We get organized motion, and as the motion continues in an organized way, we start to develop the fulcrum, which is the power of stillness within us. Now, what is in the stillness? There's shunya. It's emptiness, nothing. And in that nothingness is the potential for everything. Like if you fill up a sink, your bath sink, you fill it up with water and then you unplug and let the water drain. You'll see a spiral happening. You put your finger in the spiral, there's no water. There's emptiness. It's like a vacuum. But that is the fulcrum around which the water is moving and draining out. And we see water currents, water tides having the same force phenomenon. So even in our all our ancient spiritual scriptures, they have spoken a lot about stillness, emptiness, shunyata, nothingness, and the zero phenomenon. That from nothingness, in that pure space of emptiness, it's not an emptiness it's not a graveyard kind of emptiness. It's an emptiness that is filled and brimming with potential for creation of anything, manifestation of everything. When we whirl, the continuous movement of our body in an organized, in a constant speed, brings us to the stillness that is already there in our body. When we settle our attention into the stillness consciousness within us, we are connected to the source of stillness and emptiness that's universal, from which births all potential and all manifestation. And this is why the whirling dance is a sacred dance. This is why it becomes a sacred prayer. It becomes a meditation. I've tried many different meditations, many different active meditations, passive meditations. And what I've realized is, and this is not only me, but all of my students reflect the same. And many people who come for whirling are already inclined for sacred work, spiritual work. They're already into meditation a little bit. They've tried or they've been meditating for years. And there's always a calling. Whirling also belongs to the mystical realm of our universe. So there's a calling. It's not like you can go and approach whirling. Whirling calls you. And when it calls you, you respond to that call. When you surrender to that call, the whirling carries you and takes you. So there's a lot of beauty in that. That's the spiritual and mystical aspect of it. But coming back to the meditative aspect, the technique orientation of whirling, and a lot of my students also reflect this. Because it's such a natural phenomenon, because everything in the world already has a whirling force field. We're surrounded by a whirling force field. All we do is start to align to it. We tune in and we align to this whirling force field, and therefore we align to the fulcrum of stillness. So the moment people start whirling in a meditation, because they're turning, the stillness shows up. In the motion, the stillness is there. Then after they've whirled for 10, 20, 30 minutes, we sit down, the body has stopped, we have become still, but there is so much movement inside the body, so much of cellular activity, so much of vitality, blood pumping, heart pumping. There's so much of that sensile experience. And the stillness is now the watcher. The witness consciousness has now come out and is fully awakened and aware of what is happening in that sensile experience in the body. There's a sharpening of our awareness and attention. And there is just a very satisfied sense of beingness, that here I am. And after a while, the I drops and only am. And then there is this present continuous beingness that just continues. It's beautiful because all we do is whirl and this happens to us. And that makes me, and because I've been teaching now for almost 20 years, I've been doing this all over the world, teaching from all different nationalities, different cultures, and everyone has the same experience. And that shows me that this is universal. One, it has nothing to do with culture or background or history. Two, it's part of our body. Three, that our body, the design of our body, is made for meditation. It's made to hold experiences that is also spiritual and mystical. And the science of our body allows us to do this. Our body is an instrument of evolving consciousness. Movement and dance become a language for its transmission. In our body, science meets spirituality. And with that, I would like to close with another beautiful short video. And this one is special. I've chosen this one to show this and to also close with this is because it brings us to the mystical aspect of the work. I want to tell you something that was really beautiful about what happened here. So we have Tom Alter, who's a really, Tom Alter is now passed away, but we were very close. We worked on stage a lot, me as a dancer, him as a theater artist. And it was really, I had so much to learn from him. He's a veteran. He's one of my heroes on stage. And he was reciting, it was his production. He was reciting beautiful Urdu poetry. We had Uday Chandra and Suresh Vatwani on vocals and tabla. And we had very little time to set this piece. Now, for me, it's just turning. There's nothing more to do. But how long? When will the poetry end? When will the music start? We just kind of talked about it quickly and ran on stage. And then there was a whole production. So we went there. I started on stage. What we had talked about and what turned out was completely different. Something carried Tom. Something carried Uday and Suresh into another realm. They created something that we had never conceived, we could never imagine. And my body just was taken over by another field. It's a very short 3-minute video, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You will see how mystical energies come and carry the artist into a new creativity when we just let go and surrender. And our body then supports us as the instrument that carries this. So I'm just going to share the screen here.
जमीन के तारीख गहरे सीने में फेंक दो उसका जिस्म खाकी। नरम नरम किरणें जो माओ अंजुम से उगती है, ये नीलगू आसमान की दुनिया, ये शर्क़-ए-गरब के किनारे, ये मेवाए अज़ीज़ व शीरीं के इशारे कभी उसको जगा नहीं सके। खुली हुई बदनसीब आंखें देखती थी कि किस तरह इंसान ने अपने जैसे इंसान के तमाम दरवाजे बंद करके वहशियत को जगा दिया। और आखिर जमीन की आगोश ने वफा की। इसकी क्यों कर उगा करेंगे वो नरम पौधे, वो नरम शाखें, इससे क्यों कर उगा करेंगे वो नरम पौधे, वो नरम शाखें, कि जिनको एक रोज हमें उठा के, कि जिन्हें एक रोज हम उठा के, कि जिन्हें एक रोज हम उठा के फिजा की आगोश में सुला दी। जमीन की तारीख के सीने में एक तो इसका जिस्म था कि ये नरम नरम मावंजुल से फूटती है ये तो आसमान की दुनिया, ये शहर हवा के किनारे, ये वहाँ शरीर अजीज, ये उसूल नाम के इशारे कभी उनको जगा नहीं सकेंगे। जवान दिलकश हंसी चेहरे से गम ने जो छीनी तावानी, खुली हुई बदनसीब आंखें देखती हैं कि किस तरह आदमी ने अपने ही जैसे आदमी पर तमाम दरवाजे बंद करके वहशत को जगा दिया। और आखिर जमीन की आगोश ने वफा की। इसलिए क्यों कर करेंगे वो नरम पौधे, वो नरम शाखें, कि जिन्हें एक दिन हम उठा के, कि जिन्हें एक दिन हम उठा के, कि जिन्हें एक दिन हम उठा के फिजा की आगोश में जिया।
Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Jyoti ji, I think with that I can close it. You know, with dance, one can only say so much, but dancing, one can keep dancing. So that's...
We would have loved to hear more from you, Zia. And yes, dance can lead to a very profound intimacy with the self. That is, I mean, we can all see that. What you were saying was absolutely right. Your example of that tornado and that going into stillness and that nothingness, because nothingness is extraordinary.
Absolutely.
It has, yes. So thank you so much for being with us. And here comes your I'm going to share something. This is from the World United. Your certificate, which is going to... Yes, so here comes your certificate of appreciation from the World United. Sorry, it has moved. And it is We proudly present ZIA NATH for being an esteemed presenter in the 3rd edition of the World Parliament on Spirituality 2020. Asia, you're most welcome, and thank you so much for being with us and sharing what dance is about. And that was really wonderful. I'm sure everybody here has enjoyed this.
Thank you.